Hello and welcome, friends. This is the Saturday edition of Filtered. I'm TJ Walker. Wall Street reels as President Trump threatens a 100% tariff on Chinese goods, reigniting a global trade war. Kalshi's $5 billion prediction market boom turns gambling into a new kind of finance. Paris erupts as Shein opens its first boutique atop BHV Marais. The W.N.B.A's rising fame brings a flood of online hate and an AI defense called Social Protect. And Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem faces backlash for a shutdown video playing in airports nationwide. All that and more to come. Welcome to Filtered with TJ Walker. First, let's check in on the stock update. A wild ride yesterday on Wall Street. S&P 500 closed down 2.71% at 6,552.51. NASDAQ Composite down 3.56%, closed at 22,204.43. Remember, long-term S&P 500 is up 7.4% a year on average over the last 25 years. NASDAQ is up 9.73% per year on average the last 25 years, but not, I repeat, not yesterday. Yesterday was a big day on Wall Street. According to the Times, Wall Street Journal had its worst day in 6 months after President Trump threatened to slap 100% tariffs on all Chinese imports starting November 1st. The S&P 500 fell, as I mentioned, 2.7%. The NASDAQ tumbled. Oil prices dropped below $59 a barrel, their lowest level since May. The sell-off followed Chinese decision to restrict exports of rare earth metals, vital for AI chips and EV batteries. Trump claimed he was blindsided, posting that he was, quote, calculating a massive increase of tariffs on Chinese goods and warning of further countermeasures. Yesterday, he doubled down, accusing U.S. regulators of being too soft on Beijing and vowing to go harder. His comments rattled investors, and they fear a full-blown trade war. One expert told the Times, "This is a stark reminder that the fragility in China-U.S. relations is deepening." Okay. What's the real message here? For the last 6 months, 7 months, Wall Street has been sort of in this denial phase. This Trump tariff stuff, maybe it's not really happening. Maybe it doesn't matter. AI booming. Well, it does matter. Trump's tariffs are absolute insanity. It could destroy the economy. It could destroy the entire stock market. This is serious stuff. It's chaos. Let's dig a little bit deeper here. These are historic highs. These are higher tariffs than what happened in 1930 with the Smoot-Hawley era taxes. And that is, according to most economists, not all, most economists, one of the principal reasons why we had a Great Depression. And as fun as it is to talk about Sleepy Joe and how old Joe Biden was, the economy was in great shape January 20th this year. When Biden gave the keys to the economy to Trump, the economy was in great shape. Yeah, inflation was a little higher than people would have liked. But unemployment low, stock market high, things were going well. And until this insanity of tariffs everywhere, which is really a tax on you, it's slowing things down. The best thing that ever happened to this administration, frankly, is this AI boom. So much money is being pushed into AI that is kind of wallpapering over all this nasty stuff, all this bizarre stuff with tariffs. If, according to many economists, and I concur, if it weren't for AI, we would be in a recession right now. If it weren't for this massive euphoria, this once in a generation new technology where there's so much euphoria and people are putting so much money into it, our economy would have certainly stalled when the first gigantic rounds of of these tariffs went into play. Let's look at some more facts. Trump's 100% tariff plan would be the most aggressive move by any U.S. president in a century. Stocks, as I mentioned, plunged. It's triggered in part by China's rare earth export curbs. You know, these rare earth minerals are not really rare, but they are extremely important, and China's got them. And they don't have to be bullied by us. China, rightfully so, saying, we don't have to take this. They've already shown what they can do for the soybeans. We can buy soybeans elsewhere. Meanwhile, we have tons of soybean farmers in the upper Midwest in America. Their economies are destroyed. Their businesses are destroyed, all because of the madness of Trump thinking he can be the king and impose his will on the rest of the world. The rest of the world has a message for Donald Trump. It's basically this. We don't have to take your nonsense. That is the message China is sending, like it or not. Tech giants NVIDIA went down 5%, AMD went down 8%. China says Washington provoked this through the technology bans. U.S. farmers are bracing for even further devastation to their markets. A lot of potential for inflation and AI chip disruptions. The planned Trump-Xi summit now not looking so good. And it does appear that there's going to be a new trade war. Now, some of you are thinking, didn't I hear all this about 6 months ago? Yeah, and then people kind of forgot about it because Trump is doing so many other mad things like launching a war with U.S. soldiers on U.S. soil, attempting to take over countries, Panama, Greenland, arresting anybody who criticizes him like James Comey. There's so much madness going on that for a while, a lot of us thought, well, we could just kind of not think about the economy. Let's just let it hum along because there's so much other crazy stuff over here. Well, there is a lot of crazy stuff going on everywhere. It doesn't mean our economy should be continuing to grow and grow and grow. I mean, as of Thursday, most indexes were at all-time highs. Is it possible that it was overinflated, the stock market, when you look at historical PE ratios? Yeah, but it didn't need this. This idea at a time when the world is more interconnected than ever, that we're just going to put up these walls. It's one thing to say, I don't want illegal immigrants coming to my country. But when you're talking about business people playing by the rules, fairly observing contracts, obeying international law, and kicking them in the teeth, there are going to be severe repercussions. More in a moment. We have lots of fun in store for you. Filtered is brought to you by the following. Want to advertise here? You better be legit. No crypto, no junk food, no supplements. Go to tjwalker.com/advertise. Want to become a better speaker, leader, or communicator? Start with the TJ Walker Success Library. It's 5 of my most practical books, covering everything from public speaking to media interviews and persuasive messaging, all for only $9.95. I've trained presidents and Fortune 500 CEOs, and now you can get the same wisdom in a fast, affordable format. Go to tjwalker.com/books and download your copies instantly. Welcome back. Issue 2, betting on everything. Kalshi's $5 billion prediction market boom. According to the Times online prediction platform, Kalshi just raised $300 million at a $5 billion valuation, expanding to over 140 countries. Once known for election bets, Kalshi now lets users wage on sports, the weather, and more. Is it going to rain tomorrow? Let me place a $1,000 bet on that. I guess is how it goes. It's not something I use. The CEO told the Times, we did not expect this level of growth. Kalshi's trading volume has soared to an annualized $50 billion, up from just $30 million last year. That's huge growth. Backers include Sequoia Capital, Andreessen Horowitz, and Coinbase Ventures, but its success has triggered scrutiny. Several U.S. states have sued, claiming Kalshi is skirting sports betting laws by disguising wagers as financial contracts. As prediction markets go mainstream, regulators are asking the defining question, is this finance or just Vegas with a stock ticker? Okay, what's the real message here? Kalshi is a symptom of a greater problem in our society where everybody wants to get rich quick. Everybody wants to get rich, not by learning a new skill, creating a product that's useful to people, creating a service that's useful to people. They want to get rich by saying, I'm smart and I can read the future. Well, get a clue. You can't read the future. Let's dig a little deeper here. This is troubling. One of the questions I always ask about a new business, this is a relatively new business, is the following. If this business were to disappear or never be created, would there be any harm in the world? Would anything be worse off? And for something like this, which is really just disguised betting, gambling, I think the answer is a definitive no. If we got rid of all of these gambling things, all of these sports wagers, gambling on the weather, putting down $1,000, maybe your rent money, maybe your mortgage money, maybe your children's lunch money, because you think you know better than the experts on whether it's going to rain tomorrow, that's delusional insanity. And yet we see regulators bowing down. We see serious, Andreessen Horowitz, Sequoia Capital. These are the kingpins of venture capital. These are companies that have invested in real products and real services that transform the world, real technologies. Now, this may be a profitable company, but at what expense? We are seeing a crisis in the United States, but in other countries, Japan, South Korea, of young men, where young men are simply failing to launch. They are staying in their bedrooms, and they're basically doing a handful of things. They're watching porn, they're playing video games, and they're betting. They're betting on athletic events, but these days they're also betting on whether the sun rises and whether it's going to rain tomorrow. And this Kalshi is exacerbating this. It's making it worse and worse and worse. Now, is this just gambling? Well, part of the proof is DraftKings and FanDuel stock fell when this news came out. It went down because it's seen as direct competition. Now, some states do still have laws saying that you can't bet on sports. And this company, they've got a lot of smart lawyers. Oh, we're not sports gambling. We're a financial futures contracts and whatever. It's betting on sports. I don't know what the answer is in a free society, in a capitalistic society, to say that you can't have two consenting adults placing a bet. I mean, there are some who say, well, that's what the stock market is. The difference with the stock market is you are investing money that the company can use to invest in more people, more infrastructure, more product line. And yeah, I understand once the company's gone public, the stock price goes up, doesn't go back to the company, it goes to the, I get that. But companies usually keep some of that stock for themselves. So when the stock goes up, it gives them more capital. They can sell their own stock. They can hire more people. They can create more. That is a part of a productive economy. So it is not the same thing betting on a football game tomorrow versus buying stock in a corporation, especially if it's a publicly traded corporation and it's on the NASDAQ, it's on the New York Stock Exchange. Doesn't mean it can't go out of business and go to zero, but it typically doesn't, and it doesn't do it quickly. As I mentioned at the beginning of every one of these shows, the NASDAQ is up almost 10% a year on average for 10 years, which means if you do invest in some kind of an index fund, if you've done it in the last 25 years, you would have averaged getting 10% growth return on your investment every single year. Cumulatively, it could be a fortune. Ask yourself, do you really know anyone in your neighborhood, your dorm, your apartment building who's rich betting on games? I seriously, there may be some bookies who are making money off of other suckers, but long run, this is a sucker's bet. And this is what it is. And the idea that every major sports league is now in bed with all of, and there was a time when they said, we don't want to taint our sport with gambling. We don't want everyone to think our games aren't legitimate. We don't want them to think our athletes are throwing the game to help get a wager, to help for a payoff. Doesn't seem like anyone cares about that anymore. I mean, if Pete Rose were to start his career today and start gambling, they may make him the commissioner of baseball, given his love of gambling. They may say, oh, Pete, you know about gambling. We want to get bigger into gambling. Let's make you a player, the coach, and the commissioner of baseball all in one. That might be what have happened if Pete Rose had started his career today. Again, the solution, am I saying we need to make all this illegal? I'm uncomfortable with that. But you, as an individual, I'm speaking to now, not a societal force. I want you to really think twice. If you've got an extra $500, $1,000, I know it's not sexy, take that $500, put it in an S&P 500 index fund. And I'm not here officially to give you investment advice. But I feel very, very confident that you put $500 in an S&P 500 index fund today, a low-cost index fund, and perhaps you did that regularly versus gambling on a soccer game or a football game or the weather, you will be much wealthier 5, 10, 20, 25 years from now. Sign of the times, everything is about gambling. Everything is about gimmickry. Everything is about getting. I realize I sound like an old man. And, truth be told, I'm not a young man. But certain things transcend any one era. If you're looking for a quick fix, a get-rich-quick gimmick, I don't care what era you're in, you usually end up being a big loser. We'll be right back after this break. Want to advertise here? You better be legit. No crypto, no junk food, no supplements. Go to tjwalker.com/advertise. Most people can't afford a full-time coach. And even if you could, good luck finding one who's available when you need them. That's why I created the TJ Walker AI clone. It's built on my 40-plus years of real-world coaching and training. You get my exact advice, style, and frameworks instantly. Ask it how to handle a tough question. Get feedback on your elevator pitch. Rehearse your next big talk. This is the next generation of communication coaching. It's smarter than an app, more personal than a course, and always ready. Start using it today at tjwalker.ai. You'll wonder how you ever did without it. Welcome back to Filtered, and apologies. I see something that looks a little silly. If you're watching this on YouTube or any social media platform and not just listening on a podcast, it is a Saturday morning, and I'm frankly rushing. I'm on my way out to a pickleball tournament today. My wife and I will be playing pickleball for a local charity today here in South Florida. And I didn't get to check things. I had given instructions to ChatGPT in helping me write the script today, saying, give me the pronunciation guide for some of these Parisian, these French words. I didn't mean for it to get into the title. Paris, I do know how to pronounce, so I don't need to, and that's giving the French pronunciation of Pah-REE. I'm going to stick with the American pronunciation of Paris. So that's why you're seeing that. Also, you may note things look a little bit different today. Couldn't get my video cameras to work. I'm using my webcam on my laptop, and that's why things look a little bit askew. And we're doing everything a little bit different. I'm not using my normal teleprompter. I have my laptop elevated, so I'm now using a computer screen. If you're listening on the audio podcast, all of this is relevant to you. And I do appreciate you very much for joining us today. Let's dive right into issue 3. According to the Times, Chinese fast fashion giant Shein is opening its first physical store in Paris, and the French are furious. The new shop sits atop the BHV Marais department store. I hope I pronounced that correctly, with a view of Eiffel Tower, with the Eiffel Tower. It's a beautiful place. I was there a couple of summers ago when my family and I lived in Paris for a month. Employees and politicians, including the mayor, protested what they called a symbol of fast fashion invading French heritage. The French take fashion very seriously, and they take their heritage very seriously. A petition to block the store has drawn 100,000 signatures. Lawmakers are backing an anti-Shein law, adding taxes and ad bans for ultra cheap imports. Luxury brands like La Sleep Français are pulling out of BHV Marais in protest. Shein's chairman, Donald Tang, calls the movement homage to French creativity. But in Paris, cheap miniskirts and mass-made berets may be the ultimate fashion faux pas. And my script did give me the pronunciation for faux pas, but I did know that one. Okay, what's the real message here? Shein and fast fashion, fast cheap fashion is taking over the world. There's nothing we can do about it unless you decide you don't want it. You don't have to buy it. That's all you can do. Let's dig a little deeper here. Now, I'm being a little bit glib. You could say you could always pass legislation making it illegal, but where do you draw the line? Because modern capitalism, and believe it or not, French is a capitalist society. People in America think, oh, they're a bunch of commies over there and socialists. What they don't realize is there are more people of working age in, say, 25 to 55 in France actually working than there are in the United States. They have a very high employment rate. So yes, it is one of the largest economies in the world. It's a top 10 economy in the world. And they are very much a part of the capitalistic system. But there's no doubt about it, there is more regulation than in the United States. There are more socialistic influences on companies and how workers are treated than in a place like the United States. There's no doubt about that. So you could pass laws, but the whole premise of modern day capitalism, as laid out by Adam Smith, is the concept of comparative advantage. If one country can manufacture or sew things better, faster, cheaper than another, and another company can design purses better, then each country should do the things that it does better and trade and let the chips fall where they may. That is traditionally how worldwide capitalism has worked. Is it perfect? No. Does it create complete fairness or a level playing field for everyone? No. But does it reduce poverty and starvation better than any other economic system in the history of the world? Yes, it does. I mean, if you've ever seen one of these charts going back from like 10,000 BC up until the late 1800s, the average, gross domestic product in a country, that the productivity of the typical person is like this. It's almost a straight line. There's almost no growth because people were subsistence farmers and barely made enough to live, or they starved to death. And then when capitalism started, all of a sudden it's this giant hockey stick up. China in particular, as recently as 1990, you had about 70% of the population living in poverty. Today, hardly anyone is living, they have poor people, but hardly anyone is living in extreme poverty. That is because they have embraced a version of capitalism where they are creating products and selling their products around the world and getting paid for their services. As a great theologian once said, the only thing worse than being exploited by capitalism is not being exploited by capitalism. And if the French want to kick Shein out, I'm sure that it's their country, they can do what they want. But what you can't do is stop worldwide capitalism. And Shein is on to something. They realize, okay, there are a lot of people, especially young people, who want the latest fashions. They don't want a long-term commitment. They're not like me. This coat, I have a long-term commitment to. And apologies to our podcast listeners. I am wearing a coat. It's handmade. It's from a Savile Row tailor. Sorry to sound like I'm bragging. And it has a history behind it. It's made of bamboo grass. It is the opposite of fast fashion. I'm embarrassed to tell you how much it costs, but it costs a lot. And it's been through a lot. You see patches here. You see patches back here. This is not a part of the original design. This coat, for me, has a history. It's been all over the world with me. The patches here are because it was in a fire in Serbia, where I happened to be staying on a houseboat, and I accidentally placed it too close to a light. It went up in flames. I didn't want to throw it away. So I had my tailor add patches to it. So it's coming on 20 years old, but I still like it. It's comfortable. It fits well. This is the opposite of fast fashion. And guess what? I don't get to tell the world they have to be like me. There are plenty of people who want to buy something, wear it once to a party, throw it away. Is it good for the environment? No. It is filling up landfills. It's causing pollution. It's destroying oceans. But we'll have to get to environmental regulation on another day. People do want it. Not everyone wants to have a 20-year-old jacket that they wear. And it's a big world. That's okay. Now, let's look at some other facts on this particular situation. There's an anti-Shein law that's supposed to add 10 euros per item. That's a sneaky way of dealing with them. Some state banks have pulled funding over Shein partnerships. A watchdog there in Paris is fining Shein $40 million for misleading ads. Okay. That's a fine line there, because you could argue every ad is misleading at some point. Typically, you're not allowed to tell a bold-faced lie that is demonstrably proven incorrect. But misleading, I mean, every ad is misleading. You see a beer commercial, and it's a bunch of young, beautiful people with six-pack abs drinking their beer and frolicking on the beach. That's misleading, because a lot of beer drinkers, especially people who drink a lot of beer, don't have six-pack abs. They have lots of blubber and lots of rolls. So it does seem a bit selective to start saying one company we don't like because they've sourced things more efficiently than others is guilty of deceptive advertising. We'll see. That's the beauty of worldwide capitalism, is there's no one size fits all. Each country gets to make their own rules. There is such a thing as sovereignty. Although recently in the United States, we're trying to tell Brazil how to run their country and other countries. But for the most part, there is still some sovereignty, and it's a big world. People get to run countries the way they want. Abbas says hello. Good morning, Abbas. Thank you for joining me today. If you would like to contribute in the show today, just stop by and say hello. We are live. If you're watching this on demand or listening to it on demand, you can always post your comments on any platform where you're consuming this show, or go to my YouTube channel, TJ Walker Success, and you can leave your comments in the post section, and I will read everyone and typically respond to everyone. More in a moment. Filtered is brought to you by the following. You don't need a new degree. You don't need another expensive coach. You need the right communication habits, and I'll teach them to you in just a few minutes a day. At MediaTrainingWorldwide.com, I've created the most comprehensive library of online communication and personal development courses anywhere. You'll learn public speaking, media training, persuasion, executive presence, and more. These are the same methods I've taught to world leaders, but now they're affordable and accessible to everyone. You can start for free and upgrade anytime. Go now to MediaTrainingWorldwide.com. Confidence isn't a personality trait, it's a skill, and it's trainable. Welcome back to Filtered. The W.N.B.A. is getting a lot of attention these days But there is a dark side to the fame. According to the Times, the WNBA's record-breaking popularity has also brought a record amount of hate and nastiness. It started with a fake post claiming the league would install dildo-proof nets after a fan's on-court prank. It was a satire that the British journalist Piers Morgan, thought was real, and he shared it to his many millions of followers in social media. The hoax quickly spiraled into racist, sexist, and anti-LGBTQ attacks, amplified by clickbait accounts and partisan pundits. Players like Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, and Brittany Griner have been targeted with fake AI images, impersonations, and death threats. League officials introduced something called a No Space for Hate campaign and rolled out an AI filter called Social Protect to hide abusive comments on social media. But many players say it only masks the problem rather than solving it. Okay, here's the real message. Congratulations to the W.N.B.A. for getting so much attention, more popularity, more viewers, more money, and more acclaim for star play. That's great. But did it have to be accompanied by so much nastiness, pettiness, vileness, sexism, and racism? It's utterly disgusting how some people just can't celebrate athletic greatness. Let's dig a little bit deeper here. I am fascinated by this AI filter called Social Protect. I have not used it. I'm not endorsing it. It sounds like a wonderful thing. If you have knowledge about it, post your comments. I would love to hear. Here's what I'm getting from the news reports. It's an AI app that automatically hides hateful comments from user feeds. It doesn't erase the posts site-wide, but it filters what players and teams see. So if you are a player and you just had the best game of your life, you just won the game, you scored 40 points, it's a high, and you want to go check your own feed, you're not going to be inundated with people calling you a man or calling you a monkey or all sorts of horrible, vile, nasty, racist things, which apparently is quite popular to do with commentators who follow W.N.B.A. games. And for those of you in other countries, let me be clear, it's the Women's National Basketball Associations, basketball for women. Confession, I don't watch men's basketball, the NBA. I don't watch women's basketball. So I'm not an expert on this. I'm not a fan, but I'm happy to see that we are getting close. It's not parity yet, but I am glad to see that women are getting their due in sports. And I understand there's huge controversy about how low paid W.N.B.A. players are compared to men. We'll deal with that issue another day, but I'm glad to see that they are getting on TV, that they can in fact make careers as athletes, because that didn't used to be the case. I'm old enough to remember where girls interested in sports were kind of pushed into cheerleading. Oh, you like sports? Here, be a cheerleader. And many high schools, colleges simply did not offer many sports or marquee sports to women. So I think that's a huge improvement. So this app apparently is offered to players, families, and the staff so that they don't have to see all the bile and nastiness. It's used by 11 of 13 teams. 90% of all rookies opted in to this Social Protect. Over 350,000 toxic posts hidden this season. I'm frankly surprised it's that low. I would think you'd have about that many per game, because there is something about sports, not just women's sports, sports in general, that I find brings out the inner, let me be polite here, the inner a-hole in people. People who are normally nice, decent people, good next door neighbors, kind of neighbor who loan you a ladder. You get them following sports, and all of a sudden they become wildly nasty people. If you're on a team and you're against the team they like, they feel free to just attack you in the most vicious, brutally dishonest way possible. And there's just something about the sports fan that does that. Let's not forget, fan is short for fanatic. And fanaticism does result in all sorts of nastiness and bile. Now, this has also been adopted by the Australia Rugby League. Other sports are doing it. It was developed by CEO Shane Britton of Social Project. Doesn't cover direct messages or off-platform harassment, but at least it's something. Now, if you make a death threat against a player, I fully believe law enforcement officials should be engaged in that, hunt you down, and arrest you. That's not permitted in free speech. I don't care how much of a free speech advocate you are. Nobody really advocates letting people give death threats. But if you want to just say somebody looks like some animal you don't like, well, that can be very racist, nasty, mean, hurtful. Should it be protected speech? Yeah. I mean, there are even people who go so far as to suggest that I look like a bald old man. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. Yes, people do that, but that's not hate speech because it's not even inaccurate. It's actually accurate. But sports players are subjected to nastiness, and this is one area where there really is a sex difference. Yes, Michael Jordan has had nasty things written about him on social media, okay? But I think any fair-minded observer who looks at what the typical woman player gets in proportion to what a male player gets, it's all out of whack. The women are attacked in the grossest and vilest sexual terms, gender terms, sexual orientation terms, in a way that is just beyond the pale. It's truly sickening. I would hope some of the players and their families simply adopt the strategy of, I'll post on social media, but I'll never read a word of it. I mean, that's one way of handling it so you don't get yourself in a permanent state of agitation. We're going to switch into issue 5 in just a moment. It relates to what's going on in American airports right now. We'll be right back after this break. Want to advertise here? You better be legit. No crypto, no junk food, no supplements. Go to tjwalker.com/advertise. Most people can't afford a full-time coach, and even if you could, good luck finding one who's available when you need them. That's why I created the TJ Walker AI clone. It's built on my 40-plus years of real-world coaching and training. You get my exact advice, style, and frameworks instantly. Ask it how to handle a tough question, get feedback on your elevator pitch, rehearse your next big talk. This is the next generation of communication coaching. It's smarter than an app, more personal than a course, and always ready. Start using it today at tjwalker.ai. You'll wonder how you ever did without it. Welcome back to Filtered. I'm your host, TJ Walker. Thanks for spending your Saturday morning with us. If you're watching this live, if you're watching it on demand, thank you so much. Regardless of whether you're on YouTube or TikTok or X or any platform, we're happy you joined us. Please leave comments, questions, criticisms, suggestions. If you are listening on any podcast, thanks for doing so. And thank you if you are watching live and leaving comments. And SS, good to see you today. Abbas, good to see you as well. We did finish our segment on tariffs, and we're going to go right into issue 5 now. Kristi Noem's dystopian video blast across U.S. airport. This is a bizarre thing. Now, one of the most distasteful things about going to an airport this year has been seeing this constant video image of Ice Barbie Kristi Noem, the Homeland Secretary, never passing up an opportunity to see herself on TV, all dressed up in cosplay manner. So now she has a new video out. that people are forced to watch on monitors, where she's blaming Democrats for the government shutdown. In a clip, Noem says, quote, Democrats in Congress refuse to fund the federal government, and because of this, most TSA employees are working without pay. So this is a message that you are paying for if you're an American taxpayer. So your tax dollars are being used to push a political message where Republicans are good and innocent and Democrats are bad and evil and maybe causing you to crash because they're so evil that they won't open the government. So this has never been done before in the history of our country. There's a law, it's called the Hatch Act. You're not allowed to use employees or government money to promote a particular political party or campaign. Now, that was thrown out, like most laws and conflict of interest laws and constitutional niceties, over the last 10 months. It's been thrown out by you know who. And in fact, other government agencies are sending out emails saying, sorry, can't back to you. The far left Democrats have shut the government down. Also a despicable lie. So let's break this down, because some of you may be thinking, well, doesn't she have a point? No, the Democrats do not refuse to fund the government. It's wrong at several levels. So the Democrats have proposed legislation saying, let's open the government and fund health care so that 20 million Americans don't see their health care costs doubling and millions of Americans don't lose their health care. People like Marjorie Taylor Greene's children not seeing their health care costs double, which she's worried about. So the Democrats are proposing to open the government, and Republicans are saying no to that. Now, TJ, are you leaving out the other side? No, I'm giving you the other side now. The Republicans have said, let's increase the debt ceiling, open the government, and never mind the fact that there's going to be a sunset provision and 20 million Americans are going to see their health care costs double. So that is the proposal the Republicans have. So you can say both sides, you could say one side, but it's technically inaccurate to say the Democrats are refusing to fund the government. It's not true. Here's the other thing that gets lost in this whole debate. The Republicans control the House of Representatives. They control the Senate. We do live in a democracy. They control the White House. For that matter, arguably, I'd say the Republicans control the Supreme Court and the media today. So why aren't they just funding it the way they want? Well, there is this rule in the Senate. It's just a rule. It's not a law. But the senators have said, hey, let's give each other more clout. Let's have this thing called the filibuster, where for important legislation, it's not enough to have a majority. You have to have a supermajority of 60 votes. That's not a law. It's just the first day that the Senate opens, we kind of all agree these are the rules. And it only took a majority to make the rule that you want 60 votes. But the Republicans control the Senate. In 1 minute, like that, they could simply convene the Senate and say, okay, let's be accountable now. We got more votes, at least in individual races, that gave us the majority. We as a Senate can just say, the new rule is majority rules. And the Democratic Senator, Chuck Schumer, could do nothing about it. Oh, he could complain, couldn't do anything about it. So the Republicans have it 100% in their power today to simply write the rules, giving themselves more power and say, okay, majority rules. So step one, we pass a rule saying you don't need 60 votes, you need a majority of votes to pass any legislation, any confirmation, any budget bill. That would take about 10 seconds, and then they could pass the debt ceiling as they want it. And then they could I mean, they could eliminate every healthcare dollar if they wanted to. They have the majority. They could say, all Americans, you're on your own, no help, no Medicare, Medicaid. They could do that if they wanted to. So stop blaming Democrats, Kristi, Noem, and stop doing it in a patently illegal, demagogic way, which is what's happened. Now, it's clearly illegal. Is she going to get punished for it? No, not by this Justice Department. And she'll probably get a raise. She'll probably get a promotion. And she may get a bigger cabinet position after this, because the one thing we know about this current administration, if you're willing to say whatever dear leader wants, especially if you're willing to break laws and thumb your nose at the Constitution, you are never punished. You are only rewarded. Well, I feel rewarded today by you spending time with me. Thank you so much for spending time. My name is TJ Walker. This is Filtered. We come to you every single day right here on this channel, whether you're watching on YouTube or TikTok or any other platform. So thanks so much for watching. Please leave a review. Please leave comments. Please subscribe. See you tomorrow.